Hello, my friend. Have you ever had something to say and suddenly went silent? Have you ever stumbled through a conversation only to think later, that's what I should have said? Do you ever feel like there are times when your message is completely lost in translation? Well, you are not alone. Get ready to up level your communication. My name is Kathy Riley, and I am your host and communication expert with over 25 years spent in the litigation industry and then another 15 as an entrepreneur. Our goal here is to help you with tools, systems, techniques guaranteed to shift the way you communicate with others. From mastering the art of a tough conversation to cultivating a mindset that screams confidence, you're going to learn how to break those bad habits. And today, one of the bad habits we're going to talk about is how we hate hearing no. We are terrified. Most of us, when we hear no, we have a stomach reaction. It does a little flip flop, or we get frustrated. Or if we're an entrepreneur, we're like, oh my gosh, we take it personally. If we're dating, we feel like if somebody says no and they reject us, that we've done something wrong. So, how do we look at no and reframe it in a way that it's not that big of a deal? But to some of us, it is. So let me share with you. So when I was younger, I really, really put a lot of value on what other people thought of me. And if you can relate to this, okay, I see you, I get you. I totally get you. It was really, really important. I came from a very big family and I was the second mom, right? I was the oldest daughter and I took care of my three siblings, made sure we were all alive, we were fed, both my parents worked, and I was very nurturing. I still am. I'm very much a nurturer. But that doesn't change the fact that when I was younger, I didn't understand how much value I placed on everyone else, their opinion of me. So when you stand for nothing, you fall for everything. Yeah, that was me. Here is a very interesting story, and it made me realize how far I've come. So here I am. I would say probably a freshman in high school. Maybe I was in junior high. I was young. So we're talking teenager, right? And I was also very boy crazy. So this is back in the 80s. Okay, let's think about this. This is probably very early 80s when this was happening. And okay, so I have three siblings, mom and dad, all of us, six of us in a household. And we at that time, phones were not a big thing like they are now. We had two phones in the house. One phone was up in my mom and dad's bedroom, and I still have a very clear picture of this. It was a light blue phone. I thought it was really, really cool. And I'm like, oh, someday I'm going to have a phone like that. The other one was in our kitchen, and it was a pretty small house. I want to say the whole house together was about 2,400 square feet, 2,000 square feet. It really wasn't a big house. So our kitchen was pretty small. And we had a table that sat all six of us, and the one wall that also had a door that led down to the basement. That's where the phone hung. So if you think about it, okay, as soon as you come through like the front door had the dining room, then it goes into the kitchen. Now the garage door, that one, if you came in that way, you went directly into the kitchen. So the kitchen was pretty central for this house, which is why the phone was right there. And if you think about it, kitchens are pretty central for every household. Where do you hang out? Even as an adult, where do we hang out in the kitchen? That's where we talk, that's where we eat, that's where we snack, that's where we drink, that's where we do everything. So being that central part of the house, that's where the phone rang. Now, back then, it's not like it had a cord. So we didn't have the wireless stuff back then. So this cord it was an extra long cord that, of course, we, as young people, mind you, I have three siblings, we stretched the snot out of it. So you could take that phone into the family room or around the corner and into the dining room to create some privacy. Now, mind you, everything was open. There was no privacy. So as a teenage girl, of course, I chatted with my besties, my girlfriends. And the conversations, although I felt like, okay, I was having a private conversation, I wasn't. Everybody could hear everything in the household. And we were not allowed to go up in mom and dad's room to talk. No, no, no. We had to stay out of there. The only place we could use the phone was the kitchen phone. That was our only one. So I remember at one point chatting with the girlfriends about, our crushes. We're talking about who we think is cute and all of this. And there was a dance coming up. There were things going on, right? There's always something social. So my family overheard me talking about a boy. Shocking, right? They talked about a boy. And then like the next day or a couple days later or whatever it is, we're sitting around the table and we were having dinner. And that's one thing that our family always did. We always sat down for dinner. It was very important as an adult now for me that we always sit down to have dinner. That was breaking bread is our way of coming together. So here we are having dinner. So we've got my three siblings, my mom and dad. And, mom and dad are always trying to figure out what the heck is going on with our lives. We're teenagers. We don't talk that much. And my dad tells me that this boy called. And I'm like, oh, it was the name of my crush. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I'm like, what did he say? He's like, I don't know. And I said, well, did he leave a number? No, he didn't leave a number. He's like, I'm not your secretary. So I was like, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I was really excited. This boy that I liked, he actually knew who I was. Wow. Right. And so the next day I go to school and I'm like working up the courage. I'm going to go say hi to him. I'm going to go say hi to him because I don't have his phone number. I don't know how to call him back. And oh my God, oh, my dad didn't take it down. So, okay, I just want to make sure he knew that I knew that he knew that I knew that he knew, right? So he called me. Oh my gosh. So I work up the courage. Takes me all day to go up there. And I remember going up to him with this big smile on my face. And he's there with a couple of his buddies and and I'm like looking at him and I'm like, hi. And he looks at me and he has a bit of a puzzled look to me. And I'm like, hi, how's your day going? Everything good? He goes, well, yeah. I said, I got your message that you called. And it's silence hit. And his face goes still. Like all the emotion goes out of it. And it felt like minutes passed as we sat in this uncomfortable silence. And I remember I'm looking at him in the eyes, and he's looking at me, and his face goes from complete confusion to disgust. And he curls up his lip, and he looks me up and down, and he's like, ha, I wouldn't call you. And so we stay there again, which feels like minutes. Of course, it was only seconds, but for me, it felt like minutes. And I'm like, oh, crud. Well, I'm the idiot. And I'm like, okay, I just turn around and walk away. Exit fast. Exit stage left. I am out of there. I am completely humiliated. Thinking, oh my gosh, how did I get this wrong? How did I get this wrong? We go home and then later that evening, we're all sitting around having dinner. And I'm like, yeah, Dad, I went and talked to that boy. And he's like, well, what, are you sure that was him? Because he said he didn't call. And Dad laughed. And then the whole table laughs. And they're like, oh, it was a joke. We were just playing with you. And I gotta tell you, it was a kick in the gut. I didn't have thick skin, right? I didn't know how to let things roll off my back. And I didn't think it was funny. And so I'm like, okay. I stayed silent, didn't say anything to dad, and just let it go. And it wasn't until years later, as I was really focusing on rejection around me because I became an entrepreneur and I need to get really used to hearing no. And it dawned on me why it feels like such a kick in the gut to hear it. I was able to tie that into it. So think about your situation. Is there anything that happened to you in the past that just really, really makes you uncomfortable with the word no? Did somebody who you love, who you trust, who you care about, who you admired, tell you no, tell you couldn't do it, crush your dreams? There are coaches out there that think, that it's got to be tough. They've got to have that tough love and tell you suck. Well, I was never one for that kind of coaching. And I was never one for that kind of joke. So think about that. Take that in and kind of process that information. When I was able to connect the two, I was able to say, okay, well, the one thing is, as humans are, and I know my dad, to him, it was a joke. It was a joke. He thought it was funny. My brothers thought it was hilarious. My mom she just kind of joked it off and said, all right, boys will be boys. Right? I didn't have thick skin then. And I needed to adapt how hearing something like that wasn't truly rejection. That I could hear no without going back to that moment in time where I felt complete humiliation. I had to get over it and get through it. Get on the other side and realize no is not, we hear no all the time. How often does somebody ask you if you want a piece of gum, especially if you're traveling, you're on a plane? Do you want a piece of gum? You say no. Would you like a mint? No. Right? We don't read into that situation. We just let it be. It is what it is. People offer us cookies. They offer us, dessert. The waitress comes over every single meal, my friends. Every single meal, the waitress comes over and asks you if you want dessert. That person is not tied to your answer. Nor should we be tied to the answer when we ask somebody to do something, when we ask somebody for a favor, when we ask somebody to go out with us, when we ask with somebody to join us to something, when we ask somebody for business. We should not be tied to the answer. We should be invested in the ask, because it's who we are asking, what we are asking, that's what's most important. So I'm going to share 3 ways to reframe that no and that rejection that will help you get to the other side. And the first thing is just, it's reframing. So instead of you thinking about rejection as a dead end, recognize it as valuable feedback and possibly course correction, right? Maybe it's what we're asking. That's the no. So how do we refine your approach? How do you refine your ask? Maybe you want to take somebody to the movies. Well, maybe they're not into the movies. Maybe they'd rather go play putt-putt. So use the rejection and the no as feedback and adjust your communication style. Uncover new paths that align better with what you want. At the end of the day, say, hey, I'm looking to just spend some time with you. What is it that you would want? So adjust in no, allow the no to be feedback, nothing more, nothing less. Okay, so that's just, rejection is simply a redirection. So reframe it. Okay, the second way to adjust this is rejection is a reflection of the fit, not the worth. When people say no, it's not It's not a measure of your value. It's not a measure of you. It's not about you, right? It's about them. It's not a personal failure. So this is where I say Q-tip. So if you have a Q-tip, especially if you're an entrepreneur, put that little bad boy, stick it to your monitor, to your phone, somewhere, Q-tip. Quit taking it personal. They're asking you if you want a cookie. They're asking if you want dessert. They're asking you if you want a piece of gum. No more, no less. That doesn't mean you're bad. That doesn't mean you're not worth it. Doesn't mean you're not valuable. It just means that it's not a good match. Confidence comes from knowing that your value, you're awesome. That young man that rejected me, he didn't know what he was missing. But yet I didn't own my worth at the time because I didn't know better. I allowed other people to measure me. No longer, my friends. No longer. I stepped into owning my worth that we all are. We all are a creature of infinite worth. We are miracles. We are magic. And what we bring to the table, something that no one else can. There's only one you. There's only one you. No one else can do what you do. No one else shares, knows, brings to the table what you do. No one. So if they say no, it's their loss. Own your worth. It is not, rejection has nothing to do with what you bring to the table. So Q-tip, quit taking it personal. And then the third way of reframing that is rejection is a rehearsal for growth. And this is where I had to really, really, especially when I stepped into the entrepreneurial world, and started learning how to advocate for myself, is that I needed to be resilient. I needed to sharpen who I was in my message so that when I got the no, I was okay. That it didn't really matter because I focused on the ask. I focused on the action and what I brought to the table. I didn't focus on the result. Because, who's the boss of your body, right? That's you. Who's the boss of my body? Me. I could only control the ask. I can't control the outcome. So to be resilient when it comes to that, it's huge. So in other words, resiliency is also growing thicker skin, letting things like that roll off your back. It's about getting stronger as you hear more no's. There's a great book out there, and I forget the author. It's called Go for No, right? Go for the no. And it's important that hearing no is something that we don't diminish because there's value in it. Just like I shared with you, right? The value is feedback, right? It's how are we communicating, right? What are we actually asking for? It has nothing to do with us. So how can we reframe what we're doing in a way to either get the yes or to move on? That's the SW, 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 SW. Some will, some won't. So what? Someone's waiting. And that's so important to step into that. So rejection is a redirection. It's feedback. No more, no less. Okay. Rejection has nothing to do with your self-worth or your value, because what you bring to the table is so much more. And if other people can't see it, that's on them. It's not on you. And then it's just a rehearsal for growth, right? Rejection allows you to be resilient. We have to be resilient, my friends. We have to. We have to, because we have to continue to ask. We have to continue to communicate. We cannot shut down. We have to ask. And at the end of the day, we are the only ones that can ask for help. We have to step into our own worth to ask for help because we're not in it alone. So that, my friend, and I will tell you this, once I stepped into this, okay, no longer will I allow someone else to define my worth. I won't. It's because the Q-tip. you quit taking it personal. And the more you do it, the easier it gets. And I even created this go for the no, it's 100 no's challenge. And I take it constantly. And what it is, it's a framework, okay? And you can go to my website or go to freegiftfromkathy.com. And it's free gift from Kathy, Kathy with a C.com, CATHY.com. And what you will do, download the 100 No's challenge and start working for the no. Start asking more, because we need to be asking for what we want. Because if you don't ask for it, you're never going to get it. The answer is always no. So you have to use your voice. So download that and start going for the no. And here's the thing. There's little squares, right? And then there's prizes. So reward yourself for getting more no's. Build that resiliency and own your worth. Because no is a part of life. If you're not hearing no, you're not asking. That's the truth. So make the adjustment. Figure out, is there something more to why the no is uncomfortable for you? And talk to somebody about it. Have an aha moment, and then utilize these strategies to build up resilience and ask for what you need. Ask for what you want. Because at the end of the day, you've got to be your own advocate. It's up to you. Your voice matters. And that's a wrap for today's episode of Breaking Bad Communication. Thank you for being here and tuning in. But before we sign off, don't forget to follow, subscribe. And you know what? If you know somebody who needs to hear this about rejection, share this with them. Tell them they need to hear this. Know this: the quality of your life is determined by the quality of the way you communicate. So as you head back out into the world, remember, every conversation is your chance to shape your life. Whether it's a tough talk, casual chat, be clear, be intentional, and listen like it matters. The better you communicate, the more your life aligns with what you truly want. So go on, get out there. Use that voice. Giddy up.